Hey ladies and gents, welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to show you guys how to make a bass sound great on any sound device, whether it's small speakers, big speakers, smartphones, laptop, or any type of speaker. So the thing that inspired this video was a song that I mixed a while back where I was just testing my mix on a smartphone device and I could hear the bass notes. So that really inspired me to really zone in on making sure that my bass always sounds great on small speakers and other devices that use a mono channel. Let's get started and let me show you guys how I make sure that my bass sounds great on small speakers. So let's solo the bass. First things first, it's all about EQ. For this EQ, I'm just removing some low end to make space for the kick drum. And then the most important thing is this boost at 1.5 kilohertz. So sometimes this boost can be around maybe 3 kilohertz or around the 4 kilohertz range. But for this song, it's at 1.5 kilohertz. Sometimes you can find it around 700 hertz range as well. So just make sure that you sweep around the frequency spectrum until you find that body of the bass that works best for the song that you're currently mixing. But for this song, it was at 1.5 kilohertz. So let's check out the bass with and without the EQ, and then I'll explain everything else later on. As you can hear, the boost brings up the notes of the bass guitar so that you can be able to tell which notes are being played and you're able to hear everything much more clearer. So that's it with the EQ. Next up, we have compression. Now for compression, I'm doing serial compression because I want to do some heavy compression without choking the signal. So to make sure that everything sounds transparent, I use serial compression so that each and every compressor can do as little work as possible without adding any artifacts or distorting the signal. Because if you overwork one compressor, it will distort the signal. So that's why I'm doing it in serial. As you'll be able to see just in a moment, I'm doing some heavy compression because small speakers don't have a huge dynamic range. So that's why most of the time you can't hear your bass sound on small speakers. It's because the dynamic range of small speakers is really small. So that's why you have to make sure that your bass is well controlled. If it's not well controlled, it will never translate in those small speakers. So let's check out the compression. So as you can see, the dynamic range is well taken care of by both the two compressors, and they are both giving me two different characteristics, which is great for the sound. But at the end of the day, the dynamic range is well controlled and you can be able to hear the notes much more clear. So one thing I didn't disable is this saturation. Let's carry on, doesn't matter anyway. And then next up, just to add some harmonic content to the bass, what I did was to add the R bass by Waves. Another great plugin that you can use to achieve this is the Max Bass or any low-end harmonic exciter plugin. I found a sweet spot at 96 Hz. This will add harmonic content to the bass to make sure that it cuts through small speakers. So let's check it out with and without. It's not a huge difference, but in context with the song, it does make a huge difference, especially if you listen to everything. So let me disable all the inserts so that you guys can be able to hear the difference. I'll just keep switching between before and after so that you can be able to hear all the processing. Now I want you guys to hear this with the entire song playing. So check it out. So as you can hear, you can barely hear the bass when all the effects are taken out. But when I bring back the effects, that's when you are able to hear the bass much more clearer. And one other important thing that I have to mention is this boost here at 1.5 kilohertz. Make sure that you use a wide Q factor. Don't use something that's narrow, because if you use something that's narrow, you're just bringing up certain notes, and you don't want that. You want to make sure that you bring up like the entire octave. That's really important to mention. And then, as you can see, there are no cuts on my bass, because like I said, the bass is dynamic. It keeps changing notes. So if I do any cuts, I might risk cutting some notes and messing up the performance of the bass player. So that's why I choose to boost and use a wide Q factor when I'm boosting. Then finally, to add some sauce to make sure that the bass cuts through the mix, you have to add saturation. As you can see, let me show you. This is some really heavy saturation. As you can see, it's really heavy. And then what I do, I just blend the saturation with the dry signal. So let's check it out. So the saturation just adds more harmonics, it adds character to the sound, and this is what will help the bass cut through the mix and be audible even all the other sounds in the mix are playing. Let's check out everything with the saturation. And that's how you make sure that your bass cuts through the mix and it sounds good in small speakers as well. I hope that you found this tutorial helpful. And then let's check out all the processing with the music so that you can be able to hear the before and after. So with the music playing, the difference is obvious, and you can now tell that the bass is cutting through the mix. It's working well with the other sounds. And that's it for today. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take good care of yourself, stay safe, and that's it. Cheers.